Good evening. So, as I posted earlier, my podcast and YouTube episode I had previously recorded did not save. I was using a different app, and I'm guessing that's why that it didn't work. So, it's one of those things where I'm like, maybe I should have stayed to the tried, trusted, and true way that I've been recording things. So instead of going back, hi Alberta Cannabis Lady, instead of going back to that MP3 app, I'm going to record the new podcast and YouTube episode this way by doing it as a live and then saving it and then uploading it after. So the message that was coming through for this week's episode was mainly focused on the Mercury retrograde we just had, but also the way that the universe is showing us that we need to start checking in with our foundations and seeing what needs to be changed. So as a cannabis coach and life coach and Reiki master and all those things, yoga teacher that I do, I'm also a spirit channeler. So I can get messages when people want readings or have certain questions or just overall wellness, wondering what's going on with disease and also just with what's going on in the world. So what's been really coming up for me when I tune in is that we really need to start checking in with our foundations. What is your physical environment like right now? Is it clean? Is it messy? Does your heart feel present there? Is there some cleaning or things that you need to do in your physical environment? Really looking at what your foundations are in order for anything to actually work. So my post today, I'd said that that app wasn't working. So the whole thing I recorded was gone. My dishwasher broke again this morning. The water filter thing here stopped working. We lost power. My laptop got a virus and I had to take that in yesterday. So all these things are just like breaking and not working. So that's kind of when you go through a Mercury retrograde for 3 weeks, which is what we just did. And it feels like that you're going forward, but then you're going back so far. And then you're kind of going forward again. And then you're going back so far again. It's really asking you to look at what's working and what's not working and what's supportive in my environment, what's not supportive in my environment. So for me, looking at my laptop, like I've had that for at least 4 or 5 years. So maybe it's time that I look at getting one that's more for 2019. And yeah, it'll take time for me to learn how to use this new laptop, but it maybe it'll make my content more quality or more bright, or maybe it'll actually be easier once I learn it. Looking at what's working and what's not working. That's what the universe is really trying to tell you right now. You see this a lot in our health. You're taking all the pills, you're doing all the right things, but it's not working. You are having symptoms, you get a diagnosis, but you don't really get the why or the cause, and it just keeps happening, and then it turns into something else. So there's a lot of asking your intuition and seeing what's coming up. In my yoga classes, what I'm teaching, I'm also kind of channeling. Like I don't go in with a plan for the class. When I'm there, I close my eyes and I just start talking, and a theme comes up for the class and the poses that kind of intertwine together. Sometimes more of a flow class, more of a yin class, more of whatever's needed. And the message again was coming up that I was really focusing on foundation. When we were in tabletop position, I was really explaining, widen your fingers, look down, or your index fingers about parallel to each other, open up your shoulder bones, close your eyes if you need to, check in with your knees, use your toes if you need to use tippy toes instead of just flat feet. Really checking in with your foundation. That's what the universe wants you to do right now. It's also super scary because sometimes when you see what's not working, your brain and your heart's automatically like, what, change? Or, oh, but I just put so much time into this other thing. Like, how could it not be working? So if you don't listen, though, it's going to continue to not work, and it's going to continue to show up in different ways. But it'll also mean that you're kind of keeping yourself back. You're not allowing yourself to move forward. And if you don't allow yourself to move forward, well, who else is going to do it for you? You have to do it yourself. That's the second message that's been coming through this week from Spirit, Universe, Love, whatever you want to call it, is that you need to do it yourself, because no one is going to believe in your message more than you. No one's going to believe in your environment more than you. No one's going to believe in your health more than you. No one's going to believe in your dream more than you. And I definitely get caught up in times where I'm like, can't this thing just show up and make this happen for me, so then it's so much more easier at ease? But we still live in like that third dimension reality right now on the planet, that there is that bit of like work where it's not just all play and ease. Like in the heart, it's so easy. There's no drama. There's no hardship. There's no, the word I don't like hearing, hustle, that word. Like there's none of that there. But we still live in a time where you need to look at your foundation. And if you're noticing like, I'm really tired or certain things aren't working, check in with your home and see if you need to change your schedule a little bit. Are you overbooking yourself? How can you take control of your life? How can you take control of the yeses that you say, the no's that you say? It's really a big time where you need to protect you, because you'll start seeing that how can I word it? You'll start seeing that you feel like you put so much into other people, but you feel like they aren't doing the same for you. And that may or may not be a truth, but that's how it feels. Or you may feel like you put so much time in a project, but then it didn't really work out. And then you feel really let down. Like, I gave up so much of my time for you, and you're like resentful to that person, or you gave up so much time for that project, and now the project's not even fun. It's all a reflection right now to show you that you are in charge of what you said yes to. You are in charge of putting yourself in those positions to maybe blame it on someone else. But the universe is saying you need to take things into your own hands. And whether, again, that's looking at your health, looking at your laptop that's breaking, looking at all the things that aren't working out. And just doing little inventory and being honest with yourself, because your soul needs you. It needs you to show up for yourself. And the more you keep saying to your inner child, like, well, next week I'm going to commit, 30 minutes a day to me, but then you stop doing that, or you just don't do it, you're really letting yourself down, and then there's resentment towards you and your spirit. So with all the retrograde and everything that's going on, it's time for you to take care of you. And that's not selfish. It's like Rachel Hollis, I was watching her documentary last night. It's on Cineplex. It's like $5 or $6, and it's really good. I also read her last 2 books, and she was talking about the whole, if your glass is full, if your vase is full. But I liked how she explained it better than I've ever heard it, because sometimes it can get overused, and it's like a cliche. So you're just like, I'm not using that expression anymore. It's too much. Or at least that's how I feel. She was explaining that, especially as women, sorry, my internet cut out there, talking about not working. Talking about, so women as caregivers, or women just who we are, like that more empathic, feminine, sensual caregiver side, we tend to be like, I feel so much love, I'm going to give it to my children. I feel so much love, I'm going to give it to my partner. I feel so much energy, I'm going to put it into my work. So we're always giving, giving, giving. And we need to start looking at, how do you set up your morning? How do you set up your time? What are you doing to refuel you? So then your vase is full to the brim, that it just starts overflowing that way. So you're not tipping over your resources inside. Instead, you're so full that it's just naturally coming out and affecting your environment. So that's kind of also like the saying of your inner world reflects into your outer reality. How are you filling up your vase? It's time to take care of you. It's time to get really honest with yourself. And if it's really scary, that's okay too, because there is a bunch of change, but if you don't do it now, in the long run, it's going to be worse. Now we're in a time where all the planets are aligned and just the way that the world's going, that if you make the change now, it's going to be much smoother sailing. You also feel free to message me anytime with questions or booking or whatever, because there's lots of healers and things to help you clear stuff, but you also have your own inner healer that's asking for you to listen and listen to what you need. So if you have any questions about anything after all this, or if you're like, holy crap, there's a lot of things that aren't working in my life and it is scary, that's okay, because there's things like that in my life that right now I'm like, you know what, in a couple months I don't want to be doing this one thing anymore, so I'm setting the date and that's when that's going to be done. Or I really want to commit more to the spiritual side of my business. I've been so focused on the last 2 or 3 years on like just the cannabis side and the education side, and now I want to take it more into the spiritual side of what happens when your pineal gland starts to open because you aren't using pharmaceuticals, and what that's like for people, and the juicing and the yoga and the meditating and the connection to spirit. So that's something that, to me, that's scary, because that's a transition, and I'm always going to talk about cannabis, always, all the good stuff, but just being more open to like, this is me, this is who I am, I want to share my hard work with you, and I want to help you. So just seeing what you need, do that inventory. Like for me, I love having a bath, because it's like you shut the door, you can lock the door if you have that on your door, and no one can get you, and you can just like put the music on that's like either vibrational or whatever it's like real feels for you. Get the candles out, get the journal, or just close your eyes and go in and just be honest. And this is something that right away you don't have to talk to other people about. You don't have to say to your best friend or your partner like, these things aren't working, so these are the 5 things I'm going to start doing differently tomorrow. Because maybe you aren't ready to share that. It's more for you. You're doing this for yourself. So just seeing how you want to start implementing the changes, looking at your week, looking at your month, how can you start living for you? How can you start living for your gifts? How can you start changing your foundation to support you, so you aren't getting depleted and you aren't living in a space that isn't serving you? And I am rooting for you over here in my spirit and my heart, knowing that we aren't alone. I made that post yesterday that no woman stands alone, no man stands alone, no one stands alone. Because even when you are the dreamer and the visionary, or you have that urge that you want to make those changes and you start doing it, you'll start to see others that start supporting you and start adding to the quality of what you're doing. And you'll start seeing that there's other people going through the exact same thing as you. So just knowing that you aren't alone, even when you feel like you're alone. And just really trusting your heart and putting yourself out there. So thank you so much for coming on this live with me. I look forward to connecting with you more. And my power's back on, so that's good. And I have a little bit of water, even though the pressure's not working a whole lot. But I think there's enough that I could have a bath, so that's good. And so there's little things that are, you know, you have that pile that just piles up and you're like, oh my gosh. But then it slowly starts changing and coming around, and you remember that feeling, and it keeps you more steadfast on knowing that you need to take care of yourself and trust yourself. and believe that others will support you and follow you in that way. And this may sound a little bit harsh, but if someone doesn't want the best for you, then like, is that really the best person in your life? Because couldn't you honestly say that you would support that person and whatever is best for them? So just energetically kind of protecting yourself during these changes and just keep going. And I really feel like with this equinox in the spring, the summer coming, it's going to be so much more energized and lifted that we're just kind of getting over this blahness right now. So really getting those foundations and changes going so you can have a little more smooth sailing and you'll just be so much happier. Have a great night, guys. See you.